Welcome, Lori. It's great to have you here. People in the Peace region know you as the mayor of the city of Fort St. John. Please tell us a little more about yourself in your own words.
Well, thank you for inviting me here. So a little bit about myself. I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, and very proud mother and grandmother. And I've lived in the Peace region since 1980. I've taken business management up at the college and have done a lot of my management experience in not-for-profit at both ends of the community economic development spectrum. First of all with the Salvation Army, working as their family service director, and then I went to the other side of the spectrum working with entrepreneurs that had ideas for innovations and walked them through the commercialization pathway, taking their idea from concept to commercialization.
Very good, thank you. And which community service roles have you liked the most?
Oh, which ones have I liked the most? So I have, of course, as a mom, got involved with Scouts Canada with my kids, and being a scout leader was certainly entertaining. And so throwing a backpack on and not taking a tent, just a tarp, and going out backpacking into the mountains, and that was exciting. I think another one that I did was through emergency social services, and that was responding to people who had to be evacuated from their homes because of some kind of natural disaster or a house fire or such. And even though you get called out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to respond to those incidents, it's heartwarming to see how the community steps in and assists those evacuees with food, clothing, and lodging.
Thank you. I'm sure there is a lot of intrinsic motivation. It's very rewarding.
Yes.
And what's your ideal vision of our community?
Oh, okay. So the vision that I have for this community, we need a community that is socially inclusive, that is culturally diverse, environmentally strong and sustainable, as well as financially strong. And so when you can create a community that has 4 very solid pillars, then you create a community where children can be raised, have some good experiences, and if they go away and get their post-secondary education, then when they're thinking about where to raise their children, they're thinking about our community.
Thank you. And what do you think are the major strengths of our community?
The major strengths of our community, I think, are the people. I've often said that I've never had to change a flat tire that I didn't want to. I've had a few of them, and you pull off to the side of the road and someone shows up to give you a hand. And so Fort St. John is strong in that way. And actually, I shouldn't say just Fort St. John, because I was out of town when the flat tires happened. So it's a remarkable community. The volunteers are the heartbeat of this region, and they really do step up to the plate. And that's been shown time and time again, and just most recently in the fires that we've had, the grass fires that happened, where neighbors came out helping neighbors to put out the fires on their property.
Thank you. And what do you think are the major challenges faced by our communities presently?
I think some of the community challenges that we face right now is that we do live in a resource community, and the resources that we safely extract and transport every day are actually driven by a world economy, a global economy. And so although I get up every morning and take a peek at the stock exchange and see where we're at, we really have no say in how we react to that. We have to take what comes our way. So I think it's important that we do everything we possibly can to diversify and create a knowledge economy around our resources.
And what do you think needs to be done by the current federal and provincial governments to boost our economy?
In a nutshell, we need to get to yes. We need to get to yes on on the resource projects that will assist our community in thriving over the next 40 years.
Thank you. And is there anything else you want to add here? Any priorities government could have, should have?
Well, I think that it's important for both the provincial and the federal government to recognize that that the municipal level of government does have a lot to provide to the conversation around resource development. Right now, if a project triggers the environmental assessment process, then a socioeconomic effects management plan is then put into place. But I think that local government needs to be brought to the same table as the other levels of government are at, so that we can provide our voice at that equal level. Right now we are not, and so what the City of Fort St. John had to go through with, for example, the Site C, we had to be proactive to promote and protect our community. And we then had to go to the Joint Review Panel, just like every other stakeholder, and have our say on what was going on, rather than being at the original table to have a conversation about how this project would impact our communities.
Thank you. And what's your opinion about the new federal budget?
Well, I think the new federal budget is robust. It's got a lot of aspects of it that are going to move the country in a different direction. And I think that we need a project like have been proposed for LNG to pay for it.
And they're all interconnected. The federal government is going for a deficit, the provincial government has a balanced budget, and they try to support in the best possible way.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you think you want to add, your comments about the budget?
Well, I think that, as you say, the federal government will have a deficit and the provincial government is balancing it. Local government by law must have balanced, and we have dropped our tax rates again this year. And I think it's important that we do whatever we can as Canadians not to leave our children with debt. And so if we can enhance the country and provide services to those who need it, but still live within our means, that's what's important. The only way we're going to be able to do that right now is to get more revenue into the country. That means getting some resource projects to yes.
Thank you. And the next question is that you have held many chair positions in the community. So please tell us if these chairs have been stable, shaky, or revolving.
I would suggest that they've all been evolving. I also hold a certificate from the Institute of Corporate Directors, and so I'm a little bit of a governance geek. So the most recent position, other than the mayor's chair, was the regional district chair. And when I got there, I realized that there was a lot of things that had been going on that perhaps needed to be spruced up a little bit and dusted off. So that's why at the December meeting, when Mayor McPherson took over the chair's position, I suggested that rather than doing our annual strategic planning, that we should actually do some governance training so that the board understood its roles and responsibilities as board members. And so we are doing that as well.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And if you become the Prime Minister of the country in future, what will be the first few things you will do then for our community, the peace community?
I think I would go back to ensuring that municipalities are at the table with other levels of government to ensure that that we are able to maintain our ability to have sustainable communities, to have permanent communities, vital communities within the environment that we live in as a resource community. I think it's important for us to understand that we have a very big country. A lot of the policies that are created are really only useful for the first 100 miles from the 49th parallel. After that, they are policies that really just regulate us. And I've used the phrase before, a cookie cutter policy. I think that we need to recognize how diverse our country is and just take up the challenge to create policies that are flexible depending on the population or the culture within the communities.
Thank you. And we know that you are proud to call the energetic city home, but please tell us, where do you see yourself in 5 years in Fort St. John or Victoria or Ottawa?
Ottawa has never been on my hit list. um, um, so I have to tell you a story. When Andy and I went to my niece's wedding a few years ago down in Chilliwack, and on our way home, we had visited some friends on the island as well, and we were looking at all of the communities and understanding the different communities and what communities face as far as infrastructure pressures, etc. As we were driving back up through the province, Andy would say, what about this community? What about that community? And I'd say, no, for these reasons, and no, for those reasons, and it's very pretty, but when different aspects of the industry that they rely on change, they're going to be impacted, and it's the taxpayer that bears the cost of any kind of moving forward, any kind of future investment. So when we crested the South Taylor Hill and saw Fort St. John in the background, we said, there's home. So I don't see us leaving Fort St. John anytime soon. However, working in Victoria on behalf of this riding is my intention.
And what do you think are the challenges which you face in your current position?
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about how municipalities work and what the expectations are of their elected officials. The mayor's position, for example, is the only directly elected position as a leader in Canada. The premier is elected by virtue of having the most MLAs in the House and being the leader of that particular party, and the same thing goes at the federal government level. So as the mayor of a city in Canada, we have the weak mayor system. So we are part of a council that makes decisions, where in other countries, the mayor actually has more authority than someone in perhaps a state government position. So we are governed by two acts, the Local Government Act and the Community Charter. And of course, there are several other provincial acts that regulate some of the operations of the city. But I think the people, if they're interested in learning, there's a lot of opportunities for them to do so, either by reaching out to us on council or by coming to council meetings and getting involved and understanding what the requirements are.
And what do you think could be done here to improve the situation?
So I think some of the stuff, I think people have to, once they've understood what the roles and responsibilities are of local government officials, they could certainly then understand that there's a lot of responsibility and understand then why it's important to have some interaction with the senior levels of government at the tables for decision making. When people get up in the morning and they brush their teeth and they use the facilities, it is local government that has brought them the water and taken away the waste, and it is local government that provides the streets and the street lights, etc. So we partner with the school district a lot of times to provide education, and we provide, in our case, in Fort St. John's case, we pay for 90% of the municipal police force, which is significant. We are only one of two communities north of Kamloops that pay 90%.
And local government, provincial government, federal government, which faces the most challenges in your opinion?
Well, I think that local government faces probably the most challenges because we are legislated to have a balanced budget. But a lot of people don't understand that healthcare and education are not our responsibility. What we can do is advocate for those services and partner with those agencies to provide appropriate and adequate healthcare, education, and public safety.
Thank you. Excellent. And at this point, do you have any message for the community members?
I think that a message that I would give to our community members is just to keep up the great work. We just had our community awards last week, and I just wish we could have given an award to absolutely every nominee, because the people that we have in our community, that are working in our community, that are giving each and every day to the community, are just so significant. And like I said, our volunteers are the lifeblood of this community. And we have projects that go on here, like the U17 hockey. That was about 250 volunteers that pulled that off in a remarkable amount of time. And that's just one example of what we have done. We hosted the speed skating for the Winter Games, and I think we got about 36 to 48 hours notice that that was coming to Fort St. John from Prince George. And again, volunteers. So keep up the great work. We're showing our children how what you get from your community is what you give to your community is what you get from your community, and not one iota more.
Thank you for your work, and thank you for coming to our show, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. My pleasure.